which is not useful for the plant. So we have to change it to nitrates in the soil. So this is a soil, and the nitrogen in the air can be changed into nitrates in the soil. Then how is it done? Well, there are several ways. One of the way is lightning. And lightning can change the nitrogen in the air into nitrates in the soil because lightning increases the temperature of the air and it causes nitrogen and oxygen gases in the atmosphere to combine, forming nitrogen oxide and nitrogen dioxide. And this oxide dissolves in rainwater. And acid rain dissolves in the soil and reacts with mineral salts in the soil to form nitrates. So this is one way how to get nitrogen in the air into the nitrates in the soil. Another way is done by a bacteria known as the nitrogen fixing bacteria. So this process is known as nitrogen fixation. It's done by a type of bacteria that lives in the soil, as well as live in large amount in a type of a plant known as the legume plants. Okay, legume plants, they have root nodules. Okay, legume plants, bahasa is like kacang, and is in the kacang plant. So the nitrogen fixing bacteria lives in the plant. And this nitrogen fixing bacteria can change the nitrogen gas into nitrates. And nitrogen fixing bacteria converts the nitrogen gas in the air and inside the soil into nitrates. And these nitrates in the form of ions are then absorbed by the roots of plant. So if you want your garden to be naturally healthy, you can maybe at first plant some legume plants. So the legume plants has the nitrogen fixing bacteria, right? And the bacteria will help us to change the useless nitrogen gas into something that is useful for the plant. After the nitrogen gas has been turned into nitrates, nitrate is something very useful for plant, and the plant will absorb it. And when the plant absorbs it, it becomes part of the plant protein. It becomes plant protein. And what's the function of protein? It enables us to grow, right? So plant protein will enable the plant to grow. And this plant will be eaten by animals. And it will become the animal protein. Animal protein. Okay, one fine day the plant will die and the animal will die, right? Now, before the animal dies, every day it also defecate. Defecate means do its business. What is going to happen to the feces and also the animals and plants that are dead? They will undergo decomposition. Okay, the decaying bacteria and also the fungi will help to decompose these dead materials. The decomposition by decaying bacteria and fungi breaks down decayed plants and animals into something that we call ammonium compounds in the soil. So they become ammonium compounds in the soil. Or we can also call it ammonia. So we can call it ammonia or ammonium compounds. These ammonium compounds are then converted into nitrites through the nitrification process. And nitrification process will convert the nitrites into nitrates. And the nitrates will be recycled by other plants. Okay, but even though you can see a nitrogen cycle here, not all the nitrogen in the atmosphere is converted into nitrates. So the cycle can go the other way round as well. So besides having nitrogen converting into nitrates, the nitrates can also become nitrogen again through a process known as denitrification. Okay? Now, in this cycle, we need to know what type of microorganism will do what type of job. Say, well, we go through the cycle again. This cycle is known as the nitrogen cycle. Nitrogen cycle can bring the nitrogen in the air into the soil, and from the soil it absorbed by the plant to produce protein for the plant so that the plant can grow. Even though we have 78% of nitrogen gas in the air, but this 78% cannot be used directly by the plant. So the first thing is the 78% of nitrogen gas have to be converted into the soil and in the form of nitrates. So there are several ways to do so. The first way is to have lightning. The lightning will convert the nitrogen into the soil as nitrates. The other way is a nitrogen fixation process. This is done by the nitrogen fixing bacteria. And where is the nitrogen fixing bacteria found? It can be found either in the soil or inside the root nodules of the legume plants. So if you want your garden to be healthier, you may consider planting legume plants before you plant other plants. So this way we get the nitrogen into the soil as the useful nitrates. The nitrogen will be taken up by the plant and become the plant protein, and the plant will be eaten by the animal and it becomes the animal protein. Animals will have to defecate every day, so it makes it business, right? And one fine day the plant will have to die, the animal will have to die, and dead things will undergo decomposition. And decomposition is done by both the decaying bacteria as well as fungi. So decaying bacteria and fungi will convert the dead plant, dead animal, and all these dead waste product into ammonia, or what we call the ammonium compound. And this from ammonia, it will be changed into nitrites, and from nitrites it changes back to nitrates. This process is known as nitrification. Nitrification, and is done by the nitrifying bacteria. And from here we can see a cycle, and we call this cycle as the nitrogen cycle. But not all the nitrogen from the air will become nitrates in the soil. Some of them will go back up to the air to become nitrogen gas, and this is known as denitrification process done by the denitrifying bacteria. One of the other way that we can increase the amount of nitrates in the soil is by putting in chemical fertilizers. This will also help the soil to be increased in their nitrate contents. And why is the nitrogen cycle important? Well, the nitrogen cycle is important for the plant in many aspects. First, it's important as in to maintain the concentration of nitrogen gas in the air. Maintaining the nitrogen gas concentration in the air. The nitrogen cycle can return nitrogen gas to the atmosphere by recycling nitrate compounds, and this allows the concentration of nitrogen gas to be maintained at 78% in the atmosphere, and this will ensure a continuous supply of nitrogen. That's why in the cycle it goes both ways, both down and also up. Okay, and another important is to supply nitrates to the plant. Supply nitrates to the plant. Plants are unable to directly use the nitrogen in the atmosphere. We cannot say, oh, I need to grow, so I breathe in nitrogen and then I grow, right? Cannot. The nitrogen cycle enables the plant to use the nitrogen in the form of nitrites and nitrates, and indirectly allows animal to build protein as well. As we eat the plant, we get the protein from the plant, and we also can grow. The third important is to ensure a continuous supply of plant and animal protein for human being. Okay, to make sure we have enough supply of plant and animal protein. And the fourth importance is to control pollution. How to control pollution? Well, the decay and decomposition of proteins in dead plants and animals into ammonium compounds will help to control environmental pollution. And it also maintains soil fertility. Maintains soil fertility. The nitrates absorbed by the plant can be replaced by nitrogen fixation and also nitrification, right? And the decrease in fertility of soil is due to repeated cultivation, and this can be replaced by planting legume plants. So just now I mentioned to you, if you want your garden to be healthier, first before planting anything, you plant legume plants, and the nitrogen fixing bacteria in the root nodules of this plant can increase the nitric contents of the soil.